So I'm pretty sure that if I was running this at GDQ, all of my like name introduction stuff would happen before the game. So my name is Original Rails. I've been speedrunning since about January of this year. Picked it up directly because of the GDQ hotfix show, The First Step. Watching Keys and Hobbs do runs right after they'd only played a game for 8 hours previously the day before. Really, like, it had always been something I was interested in, but, you know, seeing that you can just pick up a game and start doing it really got me into it. I'll talk about why I picked Heat Signature, I guess, actually during the run, potentially. So I will start that in 3, 2, 1, go. So Heat Signature is a game where you do procedurally generated space missions. It plays kind of like Hotline Miami in terms of being a top-down, pause-based shooter / action game. I'm going to ignore most of the actual gameplay aspects of this game because what I'm going to be doing is this. That was a mission. I was sent to assassinate that guy. I got next to his ship. I used my swapper teleporter after jumping out of my pod, which chucked him directly into space where he died. You can't breathe in space, and you gotta breathe to live. That's basically how this whole game goes, actually. The only strategy that's used to do missions quickly is to swap with people. Had to give that one up because I was stuck in a locked room with no way out. So the goal of this game, in the tutorial, which you don't see here because it's not part of the run, you play one mission as this character named Seder Fiasco, who's an ex-spy who gets sent to various locations around the universe to take over galaxies, essentially. And he has been sent here to liberate this galaxy. And you do one mission, he gets shot several times and decides that it's time for him to farm out the actual work to other people. So you can pick your characters from the bar. There's a selection of 4 characters at all times over there. And they have randomly generated gear as well as randomly generated traits. The traits are all sorts of different things that affect your gameplay. You could have a character who's dying, which means that 10 minutes after you first start playing as them, you can no longer play as them. You could have a character who is an ex-glitcher. That's one of the factions in this game. And an ex-glitcher can use any teleporter item at 50% longer range than you typically would be able to. Don't know the other ones off the top of my head, because most of them don't matter to the actual speedrun, except for the ones that make a character unusable. So you can't really use a character if they're a technophobe, which means that their equipment won't recharge between missions. I specifically reset the characters that I had available to me until I got one with a rechargeable swapper, and the swapper had to be good enough for me to use to do these missions. There's a bunch of stuff that you can have on the swapper that makes it better. You don't really need any of that at the beginning, you just need a swapper. So what I've got is just a rechargeable swapper for this character. What you're trying to do is you do these missions, and what's important is this liberation progress up there. You're trying to fill that meter up so that you gain liberations, which you then use to unlock more space stations. The space stations unlock more equipment in the stores, and also unlock harder difficulty missions and missions with specific clauses. earlier in this run you saw me fail a bloodless clause. Don't really care too much about clauses during this run because they are primarily for getting extra money. They don't change liberation experience that you get from the mission that much. Oh, that's a failed mission. That's too bad. That's a bit of time lost right there. Run's still viable though. Whereas the higher difficulties of missions are very important. When you are doing a harder mission, you get more liberation progress. And since the goal of this game is to get a certain number of liberations in each area so that you can do what's called their stronghold liberation, which I'll explain in a minute, you need to get as many liberation points as possible. So the goal is to always be doing the hardest mission available, and you always want to be doing these assassination missions, because as you've seen, once I get to the ship, I can usually complete an assassination in a matter of seconds. So I'm resetting the job board by taking whatever job is available and then abandoning it until I get a highest difficulty available assassination, and then do the assassination by flying up to the ship, ejecting, and using my swapper. Or not using my swapper. That was a bit too far away. That's why you want better swappers usually. My plan for GDQ, if I go, is to have a save file loaded up with 4 pre-designated characters that are all very usable. So characters that have long range or extreme range rechargeable swappers instead of just this normal rechargeable swapper that I'm using on this guy here. For typical runs, I'm a bit less concerned with that, because if the run fails, it's not too much of a problem, and those are mostly about comfort and how easy it is to do the missions, not so much about actually being able to complete them. So I just unlocked the most important space station unlock in this entire game. As you can see, there's a bunch of different stations. Each one unlocks different types of gear. I just unlocked the ability for swappers to appear in the shop. The reason it's important to be able to buy that stuff rather than just have it starting on your character is because after you do a certain number of missions, you start to not gain as much progress towards liberation on each mission you complete with that character. So eventually, I'm going to just chuck this character into space and start a new one. And when I start that new one, I need to be able to buy swappers in the store, because by the rules of the run, you're not allowed to have like additional characters ready to use at the start. So you need to be able to gear characters on the fly during the run. So all the RNG is front-loaded. What you do is you reset the galaxy until you get one where you can get all of the teleporter equipment that you need very early on in the seed. And then that's a seed that's good enough to use. Just got knocked out. I'm gonna activate there's a 6x speed button in this game. Speedrunner's delay right there. Hold that, entire game will run at 6x speed. Typically used in situations like that, or when flying the ship. In situations where you don't need to be doing like precise movement, you want to be in 6x speed because that makes you 6x faster on your total time. With that second liberation, I unlocked audacious difficulty missions. So now instead of resetting for hard missions, I'm resetting for audacious assassinations. Audacious assassinations give a significant amount of liberation progress, and that's the goal. Got shot, same deal as last time, not too much of a problem, unless I get captured. Okay, I got captured. That character's done, but I'm far enough into this run that I can actually just grab someone else and use them. I just need someone who has like any piece of equipment or amount of money that makes it quicker to set up. Things are going to be a bit slower moving forward for a bit, because instead of having that rechargeable swapper that I had, I have just a normal swapper, which means that when I use it, it's gone. It's not in my inventory anymore. So I'm going to have to go to the store between each mission to get new swappers, or ideally the store could actually have multiple swappers, or in this case what I'm going to do, every time you do a liberation, it resets the store. So I'm doing a liberation after buying that swapper, because now there's another one in the store, so now I can do 2 missions in a row. There's one higher difficulty of mission than Audacious. It's mistake missions. Those start to make the bulk of the run once you unlock them. They make basically the rest of the run go way faster, because as long as you are getting full liberation experience from an Audacious mission... Oh, they had shotguns. Oh, but I managed to make them shoot the engine compartment and blow me out of there. Perfect. The mistake missions tend to give 1 full liberation per mission. These ones that I'm doing right now aren't quite that good. So I just unlocked extreme range teleporters. So now instead of just being able to use these swappers that have like a reasonable amount of range to them, it's not terrible. These have double the range of the swappers I was using previously. So it's a lot easier. I can be a lot further from the ship when I use the swapper, or if the person is closer into the middle of the ship, which happens on a lot of non-glitcher ships. All of the missions that I've been doing so far have been on glitcher ships because we started in glitcher territory, so the missions are generating for that. Like here, I should be able to use it, even though that person's kind of in the middle of the ship, I should still be able to get underneath and get it pretty easy. So the first 2 characters I grabbed, this isn't the most important, but they had a trait called X Foundry, which is actually pretty useful early on in the run. It means that whenever you use a piece of equipment, there's a 50% chance of it not... Or sorry, whenever you use the last use of a piece of equipment, there's a 50% chance of it generating another use of it for you. There was a little sound that was kind of like somewhere between like an electric sound and like a wrench sound that happened on that last mission, where it meant that the X Foundry thing was getting triggered. So that saved me an extra use of my extreme range swapper, so now I'm like building those up. I have 2 of them instead of just the 1. Gonna do a liberation here. I'm trying to get rechargeable teleporters, visitors, and the glitcher tick as well. That's about everything that actually makes this go faster, the way that I route things out. There's a couple other items that can be useful, but really the fastest thing to do is reset all your missions until you get a mistake level assassinate. Do that mistake level assassinate and fly back to base. And you want to do as little shopping as possible per character, because shopping takes time. So ideally, you want to get everything unlocked pretty early on in the run. Oh, that was a mistake. Didn't have my swapper equipped. You want to get everything unlocked fairly early into the run. He's not coming in. So that's a situation where, because I'm choosing to just get the gear that I'm getting, I actually lost out a bit. There's a couple ways to get out of those locked rooms if you teleport into them like that. The most obvious way, there's an item called Key Cloners, which is a ranged beam that penetrates through walls and will copy any keys equipped by any guards that you target with it. Additionally, there's visitor teleporters, which if you use them in certain ways, if you have 2 of them, you can teleport outside a wall and then back in. The way visitors work is you teleport to any location in their range, and then a couple seconds later, a beam that generated when you clicked the teleport button will path its way all the way to you and then send you back. So if you use one visitor to jump over a wall and then another visitor to jump back over the wall the other direction, what'll happen is you'll jump over the first wall, then jump back over the second wall, then get hit by the beam sending you back over the first wall, then get hit by the beam sending you back over the second wall. Net result is that you are on the other side of the wall that you first jumped over. It's a little complicated, but it works. And the last item that can unlock those locked doors is a subverter. It's a type of beam that just makes enemy equipment work in your favor instead of theirs. So they can't open locked doors even if they have the key if you've subverted that door. And you can open locked doors even if you don't have the key if you've subverted them. So now this character is basically perfectly geared, but I'm only getting 53% liberation progress, so it's not going to be enough to fill up that bar. So I'm probably going to do 1 or 2 missions on this character like this to get 1 more liberation, and then hopefully there's a liberation that can give me money. Otherwise I'll have to find a new character that has enough money to buy workable gear for their first mission or 2. Because you're doing these mistake difficulty missions, you don't really need to worry about having too much money at the start. You just need enough for your first mission, basically, because your first mission will give you enough money to pretty much bankroll everything else that that character is going to do. You can see how having that swapper and sidewinder make these missions go extremely fast, because the sidewinder will teleport you anywhere in range as long as there is a clear path. Yeah, so there is a money I can grab. So I'm gonna grab... this character will work. That other character I couldn't take them because they have glitch sickness, which is a negative trait that means that when they glitch, when they teleport, they are knocked out for a short period of time, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, is less than ideal for a speedrun where you want to be swapping with people all the time. So the last one I did unlocked glory missions. Those aren't technically any faster than mistake missions. They just give you glory points instead of money, and glory is sort of a like indication of how good your character is. Like, what's the highest glory mission you could accomplish? There's all the way from glory 1 to glory 5 difficulty missions. I'll occasionally do them if I'm resetting and an assassination shows up and I already have the money that I need for my character. Then, you know, it's worth doing a glory assassination in that situation, but they're not really at the top of my mind most of the time. They're not the fastest strat. So the actual, like, end state of this game, we're doing any percent, so the goal is to do all 4 stronghold liberations. That's these 4 things on the map. The goal is to get all 4 of those, and you get those by unlocking them 1 at a time by doing a total of 10 liberations, respectively, in each faction's territory. So part of resetting for a good galaxy is resetting... almost got ship shot there. Part of resetting for a good galaxy is you want to reset for a galaxy where everything is close enough that you can do enough liberations with your first character to unlock swappers and extreme range teleporters, because that's like the gear that you want to be using. And the other part is trying to find one where there is a straight route that will take you so that you can get to each of the 4 territories while doing 10 or 9 or 10, yeah, 10 or not, no, sorry, no more than 10 liberations in the area. So I just did my 10th glitcher liberation, which means that I can actually do the stronghold liberation, which on this run I'm going to do now, because this character has pretty decent equipment for getting that done. And with this galaxy, the stronghold liberation itself is how I'm going to get into, I think that was Sovereign territory. The 4 factions are the Glitchers, the Foundry, Sovereign, and Offworld. Glitchers are like teleporter themed. Foundry is just kind of general like gear themed. Like they're about items, and Sovereign is weapon themed. They have a lot of like swords and guns, and they're all about lethal damage. And Offworld is non-lethal damage themed. Like their area will unlock the concussion hammer for knocking people out without killing them. It'll unlock the concussive grenades for exactly the same purpose. It's all stuff like that. So by doing that Stronghold Liberation, I now have this spot here, which is right next to that next space. So that had to be part of my routing. Oftentimes I'll leave those till later in the run or to the end, because you can do them faster the better your gear is. But it just so worked out that on this run I wanted to do it early, and this character had good enough teleporters that I felt I could do it quickly. So that's why I did that so early on this run. So, as you saw there, every mission being offered to me was a glory mission. That's something that's actually a little annoying on the speedrun, though it's kind of cool when you're playing the game casually. After you unlock certain difficulties or like clauses on missions, then you'll get space stations as you unlock them moving forward that have specific NPCs in them that mean that all of the missions from that base do the same thing, basically. And that one means that every mission in that base is glory missions, because that's where Gloria is. There's ones for the other types of missions as well. So there, I can start new characters way faster if I'm careful about having a liberation available that gives an acid extractor. Because when you get an acid extractor liberation, it does two things. It immediately gives the character that you're playing as 100 credits, and it also means, or it's battery acid, that's the money in this game, that's why it's an acid extractor. And it also gives you 2 battery acid on every character you start moving forward. That 2 acid, I don't think has ever come up for me on a run as mattering even slightly. The 100 is how you quickly gear characters with everything you need after you retire or kill your previous character. I've also bought a different pod. Before I was just using Breacher pods, but part of what I unlocked in Glitcher territory was the Glitcher Tick, which is the Glitcher's like special custom pod. You've seen me use its ability a couple times here. That's Foundry Space, yeah. And what it does is when you press E while you're flying in space, and you are close enough to a spaceship that it can target, it will teleport you immediately to the closest available airlock. Very useful casually, just for speeding things up. Immensely useful on the speedrun, because I can, in 6 times speed, fly next to the ship, teleport to it, disconnect from it, pilot around to where my target is, jump out, swap with them. And that whole sequence of events saves a ton of time, like trying to fly up to the ship carefully like I have been up to this point. Went to the shop there before doing the liberation because I wanted to get the rechargeable extreme range swapper, and then I also want to see what's here, another rechargeable extreme range swapper. Ideally, I'll have at least one of those and at least one rechargeable extreme range sidewinder, because that lets me very quickly get off the ships as well when I teleport near the windows that I shoot to get off the ships. Not quite in range. But it's fine not to have them, particularly if you have a couple non-rechargeable sidewinders like that. I can make it work. all of this dead time that you're hearing on here, I'd probably be calling for donations in an actual marathon run. I'm not, like, gonna mimic doing that in this setting, because I think that would just be a little bit weird, but I'm fully aware that the whole point of the event is for charity. I really support that. I have been a big fan of the charities that have been picked in the past, so don't worry about the dead air. That would be me calling for donations for the most part. Like now. I actually think there'd be quite a lot of space for donations in the latter half of the run. Like you heard me explaining, there's quite a bit to explain in the first half of the run while I'm, like, setting up. But basically, until I do the Stronghold liberations at this point, every character basically just doing the same thing a bunch of times. I'm just accepting whatever assassinations I can get that will give me a lot of liberation experience, and doing those, getting the liberations, and, you know, getting more unlocked towards my goal of doing all the Stronghold liberations and thus beating the game. There's, like, little things I could talk about, like little bits of things happening on individual missions that I can call out as I see them happening. Oh, I played this character way too long. But for the most part, it's not really that much to talk about in the second half. I mean, there's stuff to talk about. It's just, I explained a lot of it earlier in the run. At a marathon, I might, like, actually change that plan, explain a bit more as I came to it, probably. Be a bit different there. There, I had a bonk. I tried to throw myself at the ship, but didn't quite get close enough to swap, which sucks. It's a couple seconds of time loss every time you do that. World record for this game is 41 minutes and 51 seconds, held by me. Started playing the game, played it for about a week, and then took that record, or not started playing the game, started running the game. I've been playing the game basically since it came out in 2017. I bought it, I think, a month after launch, had a ton of fun with it, and then a year after it came out, it had what they called the Space Birthday update, which added a lot to the game. Glory missions didn't exist before that. There weren't traits before that. You haven't really seen me interacting with them at all because of the way that I'm playing. They don't really come up, but there's... okay, I'm actually going to kill these characters. I don't need them. There's these things that were added that are called contractors that are on these missions, that are guys that have, like, specialized gear for stopping people from getting on board the ships and, like, doing whatever the space mission you've been sent to do is. There's all sorts of different ones. There's jammers, which walk around and leave down little square fields where your technology won't work if you use it from inside, and if you try to teleport into a jammer field, it'll toss you outside of the ship. There's defenders, which have a shield around them, so you would need to use a crash beam or a subverter to get through their shield to kill them. And also, as long as they are alive, even if you've broken their shield, they project shields that can't be subverted or crashed around anyone who's currently near them. So those are relatively dangerous ones. They make everyone else on the ship more of a threat to you. There's trackers, which know where you are at all times and are constantly walking towards you, and have a high-velocity rifle that they will instantly fire when they get a clear shot at you, that the bullet travels on that basically instantaneously. Like, I think it's possible to pause after it's fired and see the bullet in flight if you had, like, crazy reaction times or just got lucky while trying, but you're not gonna do that most of the time. Those are almost always gonna kill you on sight, unless you figure out a way to kill them from around a corner, or to destroy their gear with a crasher or a subverter, that sort of thing. There's predators, which are probably the most dangerous. It's either predators or those trackers I was just talking about that are the hardest to deal with. Predators have a big purple circle around them that's basically the size of a long-range teleporter beam. That if you step into it, they will instantly teleport to you and stab you with their sword, killing you. There is no defense against that if you're inside of their range, because their swords are crash blades, and crash blades punch through your shield if you have one up, and there's nothing else you can do to prevent them from hitting you. So those are incredibly dangerous. But again, you can take out their equipment with a subverter or a crasher or a crash beam. That's kind of the, like, most useful piece of anti-contractor gear. None of the contractors wear armor, but almost all of them have some sort of item with them that makes them vulnerable to those. Like, they're almost all based on their, like, technology. So there is an acid extractor available, so I'm gonna get rid of that character because he was inspiring less liberation progress. Find one I can work with. I can work with this guy. No, I can't. You can't use airs. Those break the rules of the speedrun. I didn't actually use him though, so I don't feel too bad about what I just did, because I did get rid of him as soon as I realized that he was an air. Actually, you might be allowed to use airs. I could be wrong about that. What you're definitely not allowed to use is equipment that you got from other people's games. This game has, like, it's not, there's no multiplayer component to it, but it does have a thing where it interacts with other friends who have the game on Steam. When you do your character's personal mission, which you haven't seen me do, you get those by paying Satyr Fiasco 200 acid, and then doing the mission, and they give your character the ability to retire. So when you do one of those, you can retire, which is walking your character up in there and selecting the, like, retire this character as a legend of this galaxy option, which will put their list of accomplishments down as being legendary accomplishments, and will give you a decent number of liberation points when you actually do the personal mission. I think they're on par with mistake quality missions, so they're pretty good for that. And the other thing about retiring is that everyone who retires gets to leave one piece of their gear retired, which will specifically populate it, and you can name it, in your universe, and also in the universes of any friend's games who you have on Steam. So you have to have that sharing feature turned off, but I think actually you are allowed to use your own retired gear, because there's no rule saying you can't on speedrun.com. At this point, the only real concerns I have when I'm routing out which liberations I'm gonna do on an ongoing basis is that I want to route it out so that there's enough acid extractors to make enough money for every character I'm gonna need for the rest of the run. Because I don't want to have to do that thing I did earlier where I ran a character with less than optimal gear. It slowed me down. I lost a few minutes. I don't know how many minutes. It wasn't terrible, but it's better not to do that. So the two things I'm doing is trying to like spread them out. I need 4 more up there now. I need 1 more here, and I need 7 more down there. So I'm trying to spread them out such that I can easily get those acid extractors without going over. Like, I have that one where I have 1 more left. There's an acid extractor set up. So the next liberation I get, I'm gonna put this character at the bar, switch to that character, whoever I'm gonna use next. Switch to my next character, get that acid extractor, and then switch back to this one, actually. That'll set them up as having 100 acid for buying whatever it is that they need when I'm actually playing as them. So a lot of this run is routing. A lot of that routing, because of the way you set up the run, you can actually plan it out completely in advance if you want. I don't do that level of planning. I figure out if I can do all of the unlocks I need in glitcher space before I do the run, and I... Oh, no. That character's not worth playing anymore. I figure out if I can get all of the unlocks I need in glitcher space, and I also... Sorry, just focused for a second. Yeah. I figure out if I can get all of those, and I figure out if there is a way to get to all 4 areas without doing extra liberations. Those are the only 2, like, pre-planning things I do. I pretty much route out the whole glitcher territory. That was a predator. There was nothing I could have done about that. He was already standing where I teleported onto the ship. Oh, dang. I actually lost the character over that. But, because I was proactive and preceded this guy with the money I need, that doesn't throw the run. That's a bit of safety that can be added in to a run. There are no swappers available at the store right now. That's bad. That's a bit of safety that can be added. A GDQ file, I would have done all of the, like, RNG already. I'm hoping that that will reset the store. It did not. Okay. I'm going to do an easy mission to reset the store. In a record pace run, which this is not, losing that guy to that predator probably would have thrown the run, but I'm just gonna finish this one. Wait, that doesn't reset the shop. Shop resets every 10 minutes or if you get a liberation, so I need to get a liberation, not just do a mission. Alright. Okay. This is going very sideways, but, you know, the point of this is to showcase what a marathon might look like. So I think that the run going sideways and me recovering it isn't the worst thing that could happen right now. Okay, no, I'm not gonna do. I'm going to get a character that has a swapper, because with one swapper, I can do a mistake quality mission. With one mistake mission, I can get... Oh, they're back in the store. How about that? Perfect. Well, that plan would have worked if I'd needed to do it. So fun fact about this game, it was made in Game Maker, this whole thing. Pretty impressive, honestly. I don't think that Game Maker is really that robust of a software, personally, and it's very impressive what they were able to make in it for this game, honestly. Relatively bugless, too. I don't know of any, like, glitches, except for, you know, these teleporters are technically used by the glitchers, right? It's technically, in game terms, a glitch when you teleport. So that's the other way that I realized I didn't mention earlier, that you can escape from a locked room. If you have a spare swapper and a target in range, you can just swap to someone, throwing them into the room and getting out yourself. A lot of the optimization in this game is just clean movement. Like, you want to spend as little time moving around in space as you can, and as much of that as you can in the 6x speed are the most obvious bits of optimization you can pick up early when you're learning this game. Quick decision making of your route off a ship once you get on is also important. Like, my goal when I get on a ship is to spend as little time on it as possible, because I've already accomplished the goal of my mission by tossing the assassinate target out, so there's nothing I need to do on board the ship as far as, you know, what I'm there for. Only inspiring 57%, but that 57% is going to be enough to get me a liberation, which I believe I can use on an acid extractor. Pretty sure I have one set up. And even if I can't, not the end of the world. Silencer, sure. Okay, I don't have an extractor ready. What I do have is both of those unlocked now, so I'm getting close to the end of the run. there's a limit to how much you can optimize your like shop menuing, because since the shop is randomly populated, you still need to actually like see what it is you're looking at to decide which things you want to buy and which you don't. That being said, my shopping has been a little suboptimal on this run. Spending more time in the shop than I'd like to. So I need to do 5 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th will be that money, because I think that I will need 1 more character to do this as fast as the remaining missions can be done. Oh, I know what happened earlier with the shop. It actually did have swappers in them. I just bought them on the previous character, and then he got killed. And because I hadn't completed a mission, it didn't like give me the option to. It didn't give me the option to like repopulate, or it didn't repopulate the shop for me with the items that were already in it. The resets just change what's in it, but it repopulates every mission. But it must not have repopulated when I killed that character. That must be it. And then when I did that easy mission, it did repopulate. So I was right when I did that. I was wrong when I thought I did the wrong thing. And the whole thing was very stupid. Wow, how about that? So I need 2 more after that one hits. Actually, I'll probably just get them both with this character and then use him for the 3 Stronghold Liberations. That's a shame. That glitch back effect, I try not to take those for the most part because of exactly what just happened. If you take any lethal damage, it teleports you back to the ship and like resets the enemy's ship state effectively. So what happened there is I got on board the ship and I was killed before my target asphyxiated, so I didn't get credit for assassinating him, thus failing the mission. The mission failure there sucks. It is technically possible to use glitchbacks to speed yourself up in some situations, particularly with capture missions, but I find that generally capture missions are just a bit slower than assassins, so not worth it. What you can do is get your target onto your pod and then like throw a sword at a wall, reflect it off the wall and deal damage to yourself or something like that, which will teleport you and your pod back to the station, but your pod already has your target on it, So you just have to get back in your pod and then re-enter the station and you'll be carrying them so you can drop them in the drop point there. Alright, there we go. Last liberation. Now to gear up and do 3 stronghold liberations and the run's over. Let's grab all these teleporters, whatever. Do off-world first, apparently. The way that these stronghold liberations work is you need to get the pilot off of their pilot seat, which can be done in several ways, many that are violent, but what I like to do is continue my swapper shenanigans and just switch places with my target, putting me in the pilot seat, putting them not in the pilot seat, like so. Fly the ship, set it to fly into their base, because when it hits their base, it will liberate it for me. And then, boom, liberated. And then with those specifically, you don't have to fly back to the base, because that changing character will do it. I just left the base for a second and then went back on board, because what I was able to do there was restock all my gear. When I just did the swap character thing, all of my gear was still in its use state from the mission. That's a shame. Okay, hang on. Alright, that's where I want to be. I don't want to get shot by that, because I want to still use this character for one more stronghold liberation. Perfect. Alright, that was clean. 6 times, so that takes 2 seconds instead of 12. Alright, one more mission, and then I just need to talk to the guy that ends the game. Extra swappers are good for this. You only need one. In my world record, I actually did one of the ships with 1 charge of 1 swapper and a ton of sidewinders. I didn't even have a visitor. Uh-oh. Okay, that's actually... No. Gonna restart that. I was slightly too slow, so the visitors grabbed me and dragged me back. Oh, there's only the one airlock. I thought there was a second one. So this is the one situation where we need to care about what contractors are on a ship in the entire run, and basically the worst possible contractor for there to be is on this ship. That guy. He's a jammer. Like I said earlier. Alright. Nope. That's bad. Okay. That big blue square was area that I couldn't teleport. I don't have enough time. Alright, reset that twice. This run went pretty well until, like, the very end, honestly, all things considered. But hey, that's speedrunning. Sometimes it stops working out at the last second, right? Perfect. let this character go down with the ship. There's a bit of time on this zoom out where it says, "Tonight we drink to Karina Ceylon, heroically liberating Ceylon City," but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 4. Alright. That's time. Oh. Messed with my live splits. What did I do? Oh, my edit splits, but it was from the other game. I didn't change it back. Huh. I'll go and check how fast I went on the video. That's funny. Anyway, that's Heat Signature. Now we get these lovely credits. I hope that you consider me for Summer Games Done Quick 2020. I think that this game would be fun. I think it would be cool to see. It hasn't been at a GDQ event before. I'm a new speedrunner. I was actually directly inspired by the first steps to get into this, so I mean, from a like success story for GDQ hotfix, like on that, I'm what you've been trying to accomplish. So, you know, hopefully you will accept this run. I'm hoping to attend either way, so my flexibility should be pretty open. All right, thanks for watching.